StreamAthletics.com. I'm Jeff Stevens, your host. We got Zach Clem over here with us. We're doing a special episode today. We have our All-Valley football team ready for you. We're excited to get started. We'd like to thank Ohio Valley Nutrition. Brought some samples. My brownie milkshake is getting a little empty. If you're thinking of any last-minute Christmas gift ideas, if you go to OV Nutrition at St. Clairsville, Steubenville on the website, you can order this. You get 20% off, but we don't know how long that's going to last. Christmas is coming up. It's not going to last much past Christmas. You can get any of your supplements. You can get protein shakes. You can get multivitamins. Anything you want over there, and they're going to meet your nutritional needs, Zach.
Yeah.
So we'd like to thank Ohio Valley Nutrition again for being part of our family, part of the Valley, and just giving back to the community.
Yeah, and just being our flagship sponsor. I mean, they've been with us since we started the STREAMcast, and we want to really thank them a lot for all their support and everything they've done for the community. I mean, it's really, really valuable, especially with Christmas time coming up. We just wanted to make sure we gave them a huge thank you. Yeah. We'll be hearing from our other sponsors here at the end of the STREAMcast, our special STREAMcast. Yeah. So be sure to stick around all the way to the end. So we've got the way we basically did our process was it was a long deliberation between myself, Jeff, and Tom, and other people that we had consulting on our list here. We decided to look at our votes, look at all of our nominations, and that really allowed us to cast a wide net and start to dig into those teams. And it allowed us to really look at what we wanted to do. And so what we decided to do was for multiple positions, we had a certain number of starters based on how many votes we took. And then we have a couple backups, and then we have a people's choice. And we have the people's choice for every single position. So whoever it has, they might be represented as a starter or a backup already, or they might be a first-time mention depending on voting.
And we've even added a couple, as you'll notice, and some people might say, well, they weren't on the nomination, they weren't in the voting. But we added some players that won awards, and if you win an individual award as a player, I think you deserve to be recognized. You're part of the Ohio Valley, so we've added some kids. So if you hear some names or see some names, if you look at the list online on our website, you might see some kids that weren't in the voting, but we had to add because they had such great seasons, and we saw them play. Like with your eyes, when you see somebody play, you're like, that kid deserves to be recognized. So some of these players too, we've added in award winners and players that we've seen throughout the season.
Absolutely. And so what I figured we'd do is we'd go ahead and we'd jump in. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball first. And then we'll jump to the defensive side of the ball, and then we will actually end up going into our special team / coaching to wrap us up here at the end.
Yeah. Let's start with the offensive line, Zach. So we picked 5 starters, of course. 5 starters.
So what we decided to do
line.
was we decided to go 5 starters rather than go position specific on the offensive line, just because we wanted to be sure to recognize kids. And these kids are such great offensive linemen that I'm sure they could play any position. They're one of those kids that if you say, "Hey, I need you to play center or guard or tackle," they're going to be able to swing around because these are the class of offensive line in the Valley.
Definitely. Let's start off. We'll start off with Mason Ludwig from East Liverpool. As you look for Mason Ludwig, hey, you find an offensive line 6'5", I think 280 pounds. He's going to the University of Toledo.
Yeah.
So if you're going to Toledo,
that's a big commitment
to play football at that Division I level, a high Division I level. Hey, you're going to make our All Valley team.
Yeah, he's going to be on the MACtion, so we had to get him on our All Valley action.
Definitely. Hey, when Toledo's on that Tuesday night MACtion, make sure you watch. But congratulations, Mason Ludwig. Start off, I think, with a great if you want to start off on your offense with a great offensive line, you can run the ball, you can pass, you can do anything when you have an offensive line, and I think that's a great place to start. But it doesn't end there,
No,
Zach.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Cam Daly from Steubenville, what a season.
I mean, when you see Steubenville and the strength of their run attack, it had to start in the trenches somewhere. And I think Cam Daly was definitely one of those cornerstone pieces that really allowed that run game to be so strong all season and allow them to make that deep push in the Ohio playoffs.
Yeah, how about pass protection too? Steubenville likes to run that play action pass game, and just the pass protection on that, excellent. And just picking these just 5 was so tough for us. I mean, we sat here for a long time. We even did some research on our own.
I think offensive and defensive line took us the longest out of any position just because of the strength of a lot of these kids in the Valley.
Yeah. How about we'll look next to St. Clairsville, and Perry Patron comes in at St. Clairsville as another starter. And again, strong running attack, but also great in pass protection, but, leads the way for Walker over there at St. Clairsville, leads the run game. So congratulations to Perry Patron being a starter on our All-Valley team.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, let's move back to West Virginia. We've got 2 Morgantown Mohicans for us.
Yeah.
We have Seth Burke and Eli Strahara. So both, Morgantown, back to the running game.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
They threw a little bit of pass in there, but back to the running game with that new coaching staff that they have down there.
And Morgantown played a pretty tough schedule this year too. I mean, I know they weren't necessarily the class or the class of AAA this year in West Virginia, but these two guys really are those big blockers that you really want in front of your offense. And they were a real pleasure to watch. I know when we started doing research on them, I was jumping around looking for highlight reels of them, and their feet just really jumped off for me. So that was a huge sell for me, especially being an offensive line guy that really loves that position.
That's the first thing you look for, is your footwork.
Yep.
You can get a lot of big guys on the line, but big guys that move their feet, that's where you separate, maybe a great offensive lineman from an average, serviceable offensive lineman is the feet.
Yeah, the feet and the hips. And I mean, that's just one of those things that really popped out on tape with me with these two young men.
Yeah. Hey, how about next? Hey, we're going to go backups. DeMarcus Webster, St. Clairsville. And just because you're a backup on our team, you're probably going to start on most teams.
Yeah.
But you're a backup here for us. Still a great award, a great nomination.
And being a backup on our list, I mean, you're probably still going to end up getting some recognition in some other all-star teams when those rosters start coming out later in the year, but not necessarily from us. But Jamarcus Webster was just outstanding. I mean, when you have two linemen from the same team getting mentioned at all, I mean, it really shows the strength of your overall offense.
Yeah. How about we'll move on to our next backup, Evan White from Union Local. And, as we get further along to our running backs with Jackson Price, you're going to see, if you check out Evan White, you're going to see why Jackson Price did so well this season.
Successful. Yeah, when you've got a guy like that you can get a one-cut read and just start firing down the field, I mean, you're going to be wildly efficient.
And you find those guys as a running back. You find your offensive line, and you just get behind him and follow him.
Right.
You're just like, I'll follow this guy because he's going to block whoever's in front of him.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And how about our People's Choice? So, we had a say. Of course, we picked the starters. We picked the backups. We looked at nominations. We looked at votes. So Perry Patron again comes up to us with 8,949 votes. He's our People's Choice Offensive Lineman of the Year. So we have our starters, our backups, and then our People's Choice. And some kids are going to make it on here twice, though you can't make it on for two different positions.
Right. We tried to keep it position specific.
Yeah, we tried to keep.
We had over 33,000 responses to this form, so it's really absolutely astronomical how many votes that Perry got there. I mean, that's really well done. Sure, very well liked if that many friends and family are coming out and voting for him, and people around the valley voting for him too.
Definitely. How about next, behind that offensive line?
There we go.
The running backs. So again, we sat here. Oh my, we have this list of nominations and these list of votes, and we're like, okay, so I would take these kids first in every draft.
Yep.
So how do you pick between kids you take first in every draft?
Kids you pick everywhere, and like when you look at them, we had such a hard time picking the running backs. I think this, outside of offensive and defensive line, I think running back was our longest conversation.
Yeah, running back was tough. So of course, as I talked about him already, we're going to go our first starter, Jackson Price from Union Local. And it seemed like, and even you said, Zach, it seems like every week we were covering Union Local, you were talking about Jackson Price.
I think we talked about Jackson Price easily the first 4 or 5 streamcasts we did.
Yeah.
So when we were looking at the list, I was like, we literally talked about this guy so much and how he really ran that offense and what we saw sort of slide about on that offense, and just a fun player to watch.
Yeah, definitely. How about our next starter? We have 2 starting running backs, so we're going to look at Xavier Fulks from Steubenville. Okay. And again, running backs from Steubenville, they run the ball a lot, but hey, behind a great offensive line, you still got to be able to read the blocks. You still got to be able to, get your way behind and then get downfield.
Well, and the thing is, too, Steubenville had some other strong running backs, too, other than Xavier as well. But he really distinguished himself as, the lead primary back there and ran really hard all season long. Definitely.
Now, again, backups here, not only starters, but
for sure.
Stars anywhere else.
I see what you did there.
How do you like that, Zach? Yeah. Stars anywhere else? Yeah. So, of course, I hope you know where we're going with our backups. The first back we have Tayson Starr from Barnesville. And again, another great young man that we talked about. It seemed like every week you're talking about Tayson Starr.
Yep.
Whether it was, now, Zach, remember, running the ball.
Yep.
Catching the ball.
I do it all.
And we were also there when he threw a touchdown pass.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
So running. Now you're scoring in 3 different ways on offense, and you have to be included. Just a fun player to watch. Lucky enough to say I got out to Barnesville, and Tom and I got out to Barnesville to watch him play a couple times. Just a great player to watch play, fun player to watch play. Play so hard. How about again, it's funny we talk about the offensive line and the running back kind of 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had to do it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at it, it's like you can see why some of these running backs were so successful when you see the strength of their offensive line and especially their fullbacks, which we'll talk about a little bit next, too.
So how about the next backup? We have Jacob Walker from St. Clairsville.
Yep.
Again, Tom and I got to see a couple St. Clairsville games, and it always seemed like Walker with a touchdown, Walker on the run. Again, behind a good offensive line. But, when you're feeding a kid like that to win football games, as a coaching staff, you trust him.
Well, and he had a real nose for the football, too. And you saw that he was one of those guys that once he got to that second level, he was really hard to bring down. He would start moving really well once he got beyond that first level blocking, which was really fun to watch.
Definitely. How about we got a people's choice with Braden Roth, and we tried to fit in another starter. I was like, how do we fit in another starter for our running backs? Because with Braden Roth, I mean, another just fun to watch play. And, he ended up with 3,386 votes. So, we wanted to try to recognize as many players as possible. So great job again to Braden Roth being the people's choice for our running back.
And I mean,
group.
as many great running backs as there were in the Valley, too. I mean, narrowing that list down to 5 was really, really, really hard. Like when we did offensive, defensive line, and even wide receivers and DBs, we had a lot more roster spaces to take up there. So narrowing those running backs down to 5 was really, really challenging. Yeah. But we felt that People's Choice Award was also he could very easily have been one of our backups or starters as well. So that's no knock on Braden Roth. He had a hell of a season.
He had a great season. Great season. Fun to watch play again. I think lucky enough that we get to go out and watch these kids play. Like as I'm going through the list, I'm like, we saw him play. We saw him play. We saw him play. Like I'm like, it seems like every one of them we went to multiple games. I don't know how we had so much time to do this, but we were getting a couple games a week, I guess. So now you have your offensive line, you have your running backs. So leading the way in that backfield, you got to have a strong fullback. Take care of those linebackers. So our starters, Marcus Bush from St. Clairsville, and I know we had a couple write-ups, a couple articles about St. Clairsville. Tom and I went to a couple games, and I always remember watching the game and saying, the fullback, and then realize who it is. Not a lot of carries,
right?
But still leading the way for that very good running game at St. Clairsville.
Well, fullback is one of those positions where it's not necessarily the most glorious position. It's not the sexiest position that you see. Like you have the wide receivers and the running backs and the quarterbacks that are getting all the stats. Fullback is like the epitome of that hard-nosed football guy. Yeah. And these gentlemen that we're recognizing here epitomize that. The guys that are willing to do whatever they can to help their team do better.
Yeah, definitely. How about our backup at fullback is Jack Selman from Lindsley. Again, Lindsley run the ball really well, strong running game. So when you do, you always think about the offensive line and the running back that's running the ball, but how about the guy that's leading the way in that backfield?
And I know a lot of times too, Selman, when they would go four wides on offense, Selman would be the running back aiding in pass protection too. So he wasn't always just we're going I formation or we're going power pistol or anything like that. A lot of times they would leave him in and help be almost that sixth pass protector when you went four wides.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And then our people's choice, Marcus Bush from St. Clairsville, got our people's choice.
Let's see, how many votes did he get here? We are looking
for fullback. Well, when you have that offense, Zach, and you're spreading it out, you do every once in a while. You want that extra pass protection because you're going to bring a lot of blitzers. Right. You're going to bring a lot of people coming. So maybe not the classic running back there, but that fullback back there to help. Yeah.
So Marcus Bush, his vote total, we had 1,536 votes for Marcus Bush.
Congratulations to Marcus.
Which is a lot. I mean, we had a surprising amount of. Fullback votes, which I loved. I was really excited for that. Yeah. All right, so moving on here.
Another position that a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. Oh my! Now, if you're that quarterback that's coming up and you see these receivers, you're going to thank us. If you got to throw to these 4 guys.
Oh, for sure.
Or 4 or 6, 7 guys. If you got to throw to these guys, I think you'd thank us a whole bunch. Your coaching staff would thank a whole bunch.
It would be hard to not be empty, I think, with these guys.
How do we start, Zach, our starters, without mentioning our receiver?
Our guy,
Ray Pettigrew, and he had to be first on the list.
Had to be
Ray, the first starting receiver on the list. Let's get the ball to Ray.
Oh yeah, Ray in space.
Yeah,
you can't
definitely.
Go wrong. You can't go wrong.
But hey, so double, triple cover, whatever you got to do to Ray. I still don't think you're stopping him. But if you do, You look to somebody else. How about Luca Di Lorenzo from Lindsley?
And Luca Di Lorenzo was literally that Swiss Army knife for Lindsley all season. I think he did almost everything. We put him at wide receiver, which is probably his most true position.
Yeah.
But he literally can do it all, and he's just as great of an athlete as anybody else on the list.
But wasn't that running the ball, blocking extra points, blocking field, like on defense, offense, just everywhere.
He's one of those guys that was kind of one of the drawbacks of our system here of going just one position because he literally did him. I think Ray played some defense as well. Too.
Ray played defense. Ray played running back as well.
So both of these guys were ones that literally had played all over the field, and so we kind of had to pigeonhole them into their primary.
We couldn't
position.
put Luke at quarterback, fullback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. We couldn't put him all over the field, so we're going to keep him at receiver.
Absolutely.
How about next? How can you have receivers and not have Dre Hawkins?
Oh, Dre is an outstanding athlete.
You got to have him. Dre Hawkins from Wheeling Park.
And the Park coaching staff raved about this kid all season. And when you watch him play, you just see the speed. I mean, how many times when we talked about Park did we talk about their speed on the outside?
Yeah.
And a lot of it started with Dre Hawkins, and it allowed a lot of those other guys to get open as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Dre gets a lot of the attention, as well he should. Congratulations goes out to him too. He's going down to IMG Academy to play a little football there, maybe get a little more recognition. They have some training down there that maybe he wouldn't be able to get around here. But congratulations to him and good luck to him there. How about next? Another guy that we talked about, I think, every time we did Union Local, you talk about Dre Saunders.
Yep.
And just everywhere on the field, offensively, just a hard matchup. Anytime he was on the field, it just seems like he was catching touchdown passes.
All the time.
And so just great. Another guy, quick receiver, good hands.
And like we said, if you're a quarterback, looking at these four starters, I mean, you couldn't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take that group of four receivers over almost any other region in the state.
Yeah.
Either in West Virginia or Ohio.
It's a great group.
Seriously.
But we're not going to stop there.
No, we're not stopping there.
So now one of these guys breaks for a 90-yard touchdown, which is going to happen. So you want to get him a breather. We have a backup. This is the first guy that was not in our nominations but won an award, won a great award. So Cyrus Trofe from Parkersburg South won the Randy Moss Award in West Virginia for the top receiver.
Yep.
So
which is
how can we go without noticing him and giving him some recognition?
Well, I know when you guys went and saw Parkersburg South in Park, I think he really jumped off the field to both of you guys when you saw him. Yeah.
Just, again, speed and just finds open places in the field. A good player, great receiver, just all over the place for Parkersburg South. And we had to recognize him as we're sitting here talking about receivers. I'm like, how do you, I think Coach Salkovic mentioned, how do you leave out the Randy Moss Award winner? So
you just can't.
You can't do that.
No.
So our next backup, let's go to Steubenville. And we talk about the run game and everything else, but we have to talk about their pass game a little bit. Isaac Hill,
yeah.
Isaac Hill, definitely recognition to being a good receiver. Doesn't have the 90 catches, but is that guy, if you would throw him the ball 90 times, he's going to catch it 90 times. So, again, Isaac Hill making it as a backup for our team, but, would start anywhere.
Almost anywhere. Yep.
Yeah. How about Brody Laughlin from River being our people's choice at wide receiver? So we had a River pilot there with 2,538 votes, Zach. And, again, got to see him play a couple times.
Are there 2,538 people in Hannibal?
I think there's more than that.
They might have all voted for him. I mean, this is their guy.
I'm going to tell you what, not only people in Hannibal would vote for him, but if we see this kid play, there's people from all over the valley that should have voted for this kid. Just
Absolutely.
Again, a great receiver, fun to watch play. A couple great catches I got to see this year from him. But congratulations again, being our people's choice for a wide receiver. Next, kind of to round out the receiving part of our portion is tight ends.
Yep.
So, we're going to pick a tight end. So, Drew Joswiak from St. Clairsville is our starter. Had a good season. Again, when you're running the ball, so now you have to block. So he had to block on the with the offensive line. And then in that play action game, you know how important that tight end is. Zach.
Oh, just being able to waggle that tight end out there on a play action and just have him be one-on-one with maybe an undersized linebacker, maybe with a defensive back, depending on what personnel group you're in. I mean, it's tight ends and fullbacks are really, really strong in the play action game. And when we literally had both tight ends and fullbacks mentioned here.
Yeah.
It really shows the strength of that St. C offense.
Yeah, definitely. How about our backup, Elijah Brock from Shady Side? Again, you get in there in Shady Side, they like to run the ball, but to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand, they like that play action, get some wide open looks, and you got to be able to catch the ball. That's the thing at tight end. If you're just a blocker, you're going to see that on film right away. Right away. So, you got to be able to catch the ball, get those 5-yard little outs, little waggles, and turn them into 10, 15-yard gains.
Yep.
And Drew Joswiak, we mentioned him again. He was our leading vote getter for our tight end, our People's Choice. Drew Joswiak from St. Clairsville, 1,571 votes. Good job, Drew.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Making the OVathletics.com All-Valley team. The field commander. The quarterback is last on our offense.
We had to save the best for last year. I mean, this is one of those things that it was a huge debate on who to take.
Yeah.
Just because there were so many outstanding quarterbacks
and
on both sides of the river.
And when you talk about quarterbacks now, Zach, they're just not back there throwing the ball. And some classic offenses in the Valley, they're not just back there running the ball either.
No.
They got to be able to do both. And we have a list here of 5 players that I got to see them all play. Yes.
Yep.
And I tell you what, the classic definition of today's modern quarterback,
Absolutely.
running the ball and throwing the ball. Let's start off with our starters. Brett Phillips from Wheeling Park.
I mean, Brett Phillips he's a great kid. He's a coach's kid. He's been around football as long as he can. Both of his brothers played for Park. I think both of them ended up playing at West Liberty as well. Just literally the Phillips and football it's like peanut butter and jelly. They're just together all the time. And Brett is an outstanding young man. He played his heart out this season.
Yeah.
Just throwing it all over the field, running it all over the field. I mean, he's one of those guys that if you were picking a team, playground football, you're picking him first every time.
Yeah. How about next? Robert Shockey from Parkersburg South. You don't get much better, Zach. I'm going to tell you that. After seeing him play and getting to see him play again next year, he's only a junior this year, so he's going to get another season. But you want to talk about the quarterback that can lay it up into a receiver, just put it right in their hands. He could do that. But then if you need a quarterback with a 60-yard run on that zone read, he's going to keep it, and he's going to run by you or over you. You pick. But I don't want to be around for either.
And these guys both had staggering stat lines, which is hard to see in that AAA ball. I mean, there are some really strong defenses in AAA in the state of West Virginia, and both of these guys just lit up the score sheet every time they got the ball.
It seemed like every week it was 3 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing, 5 touchdowns passing, 2 rushing, 4 touchdowns, and every week it just seemed like you're getting touchdowns on both ways, which makes it so hard on the defense.
It really does.
How about our first backup?
Okay.
You know how we have an affinity. We love Barnesville. C.J. Hannas comes in. Talk about a quarterback, again, that can just lay the football in there real nice.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, can also run the football. And I can't pick which he does better because he does both really well.
He does both very well.
So you just can't pick one or the other. Great to watch him play, definitely. Our next backup, Gage Klein from Edison, the Wildcats represented here. Again, this is a guy every week. It was 4 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing, 3 touchdowns passing, 4 rushing. Just every week, it's like, he was selling hot dogs, programs, and tickets. He was doing everything else, too. I don't know. I didn't get exactly how many tickets he sold this year.
Maybe he ran out with the marching band at halftime, too. I mean, he was doing everything,
He
right?
was. He did everything for that team. Undefeated regular season for them. And just you have to have a quarterback to be able to do that during the season. And our People's Choice, again, another community that we love to go support and that supports us like crazies, Cameron, Colson Wichterman. So how about Colson Wichterman? 3,580 votes, okay? So, again,
he may have gotten just as many nominations, too, when we did the nomination for him.
He got a lot of nominations,
he really came out in the voting process here,
and again,
congratulations.
A young man that can throw it and put it in that tight window, but also run the football. I think we said it about all of these quarterbacks. They're just special in that manner, in that way. Yeah, congratulations again to Colson and the Cameron Dragons. On a great season. Okay, Zach, that's our offense. Okay, so
with that offense, I mean, you could get into some Big 12 shootouts and not even worry about the defense. But here's the thing: our defense might be just as good, if not better, than the offense.
I tell you what. How about just practices? Wouldn't you love to see?
Oh my God, I would love to see
this offense versus this defense
coming
up.
You know what this is like? This is like when you're playing Madden and you just go take all the best players, you turn the salary cap off, and you just make that crazy roster and just beat everybody by 90. That's what this team could do.
I don't know if you could get that good a team on Madden that we're putting together here. How about on defensive line? And this is going to be a different starter for us. Cam Jones from Weirton, who's going to James Madison on a football scholarship. And to play offensive line, we put him on our defensive line because of what he did this year on defense. He was unbelievable. Like, I can remember the first game of the year, he picks up that fumble and returns it for a touchdown. And it's just like, you might question, why did you put him on the defensive line? And I said, because I saw him play on the defensive line. That's why we put him on the defensive line.
He stood out so much that they're like, this is where this guy has to be.
Yeah.
Just has to be.
Yeah. Next, wow. Spencer Ostovich from Steubenville. And it seems like every week it was 6 carries, 40 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
4 carries, 30 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It seems like, big fullback,
right.
You get him the ball and punch it in the end zone, or a big first down. But we put him on our D-line.
Oh, man. He was just a monster on
for
that
as
D-line.
good as he was on offense, I feel he's even better on defense. Maybe didn't put up stats like the crazy stats, the touchdowns and everything, but to have an anchor like that on your defensive line, just a tough kid.
I mean, he's one of those guys that we literally could have put at either position because he was just outstanding at both. So he's another one of those guys that maybe suffers a little bit for the way that we did it, but we wanted to recognize as many kids as possible. And Spencer was just...
I think he's another kid.
D-line.
Put him at running back, put him at fullback, put him at tight end, heck, put him at receiver, put him at offense, put him anywhere on the field. And a kid like that's just going to perform.
Yep.
That's what's great
Very
about this team.
coachable and going to be team first too. When you see people on the D line, that's what I always say is those D linemen are a lot of times really team first because they're putting a lot of work in that not a lot of people see or notice. And Spencer, when you see Steubenville play, you see the work that he does.
No, definitely.
The time.
How about moving on to our next starter, Vin Roach from Union Local. Again, one of those defensive linemen, nice and long and lean and big, and just could get to the quarterback this year, and anchor that run defense for Union Local that played so well this year.
Right.
So good job to Vin Roach. Again, fun to watch play. It just seems like in on almost every play, no matter where the ball was.
Yeah, always near the ball, and he had great extension too when he came off the line. When you look at D linemen, you always want to see their extension on their first power punch, and because of how long he was, he just got such good extension when he was able to get those blockers' arms off him and go make a play.
How about next? As we talked about Belair this season, as they got better all year, you start with that defense. If your defense can hold people down a little bit, if your defense can help you out, it'll help your offense. So how about Pook Littell on the defensive line for Belair, and just allowing that team to grow a little bit during the season and controlling that offensive line as being a defensive lineman, and just letting the other players take part, the linebackers to come up and make tackles, defensive backs to come up and make tackles.
We talked a lot about how that defense got better as the year went. A little bit early on, they had a little bit of struggles, and I think a lot of that, Pook put a lot of that on his shoulders and was able to help really anchor that D-line and allow those 11 other guys on defense to fly to the ball.
How about the backups? We're going to start with Wheeling Park. You'll take over. Charles
DeSaya.
Okay, so that's my eyes were playing tricks with me. A lot of S's, I's, and A's in there. But DeSaya, I was going to DeSaya.
It would be expensive on Wheel of Fortune. It's a lot of vowels.
I was going to DeSaya that, but I didn't know, if I was going to be right. I didn't want to mess it up. But again, a kid that was mentioned to us, they said, hey, this kid's just check him out and see what you think. And we did, and we're like, okay. So this kid's legit. Another kid that was not on our nomination form, but was, people reached out to us and like, I think you missed somebody.
Well, he just jumped off the film, too. When you watched Wheeling Park play on defense, he popped. And he allowed a lot of those one of the backers that I'm sure we're going to mention here in a little bit, to really fly downfield and make tackles. Yeah,
definitely. How about we go to another backup, J.R. Adams of St. Clairsville.
Yep.
Again, those defensive linemen, at St. Clairsville, they, running that 4-4 defense, just controlling that line of scrimmage and letting those linebackers come and make plays. Just again, J.R. Adams had a great season controlling that line of scrimmage. And our people's choice, Pook Littell from Belair, again, 1,710 votes. It was actually pretty close in that one.
It was very close
between a couple people. One of our closest votes that we had.
I mean, within a few hundred of each other. Pook, we had JR was really close to him. Vin Roach was close to him as well. So a lot of people that we recognize, they're really close in the voting, which I think shows just the strength of defensive line in the Valley.
Next, linebackers.
This is the one that I feel like when we discussed, it might have been our shortest conversation, just because there were some people that really jumped off the tape and that just were really, really, really strong defensively.
How about you talked about speed at that linebacker position? Okay, so let's start with our first starter, Adam Angel from Cameron. When we talk about speed at the linebacker position, wow, somebody that could get to the ball, not the biggest kids,
right?
Okay, but could get to the ball quick and tackle. Boy, could he tackle. Just watch him. Just the form tackles that he had on defense. I don't know. I don't know if somebody broke a tackle on him.
Well, I think you see that with this person and our next starter as well. They're both wrestlers and just are outstanding tacklers. And I always say that when you see people that are really successful defensively at the high school level, a lot of times you see those linebackers. They're wrestlers. Because of how well they can shoot a leg, they can also take a tackle down, very, very well.
And Coach Ward mentioned this to me, and when I mentioned a kid to him at linebacker or something, and he's like, wrestler, good tackler, and Coach Ward just kind of shrugs his shoulders, just says, it comes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So sometimes you like those wrestlers at linebacker, they just seem to always take them down.
They always take them down. And I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, when you got that body control, I mean, it really shows off on the field and on the mat as well.
Yeah. How about our next starter, Keon Hopkins from Steubenville? And our research department did some research on him. So thanks, Cannon, doing some research on Keon Hopkins and some of our other players that we were looking for information on. I can't remember off the top. 109 tackles, 14, 18 tackles for loss, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. And a nice, big, stout kid and fast. So, I mean, just if you're going to talk about defense, you got to have Steubenville people on your defense.
Yeah, and speaking of forced fumbles and fumble recoveries, we forced a fumbler. We jumped around on our list a little bit.
Yeah.
So Keon's a great kid. So we're gonna jump back on our list here too, and we're gonna talk about Eric Brothers from Wheeling Park.
Okay, I thought I missed him. You mentioned him, but didn't say his name.
I mentioned wrestling and didn't really bring up his name. Eric Brothers. Just if you watched Wheeling Park's defense, he stood out every single play. Eric flies down the field, makes tackles. I've seen him wrestle as well, because we did talk about the wrestling thing there. But just tackle. And a lot of times you get worried when you see that many tackles on a defense because you think, hey, maybe that D-line's not giving as good a push.
Yeah.
And they're maybe getting tackles 4 or 5 yards down the field. That was not the case with Eric here.
No.
He had tons of tackles, and I'm sure many for a loss.
A classic downhill linebacker.
Oh, yeah.
He was looking to make tackles in the backfield every time, playing downhill.
I mean, the 3 gentlemen we've mentioned so far literally played like their hair was on fire, just flying around the field all the time. And another person who played with his hair on fire that you guys got to see in person as well.
Gage Wright from Parkersburg South. And Coach Sokovic said, we have to include him. And, we said, okay, well, what do you have for us, Coach Sokovic? And he goes, didn't you see him play? And I said, yeah. He goes, then add him to the list. And not only add him to the list, make him a starter.
Yep.
And so you can't go wrong, with the way that the offense got all the attention, I think, at Parkersburg South, scoring 60, 70 points a game. But the defense played really well, too. And, Coach even mentioned on the offensive end, Gage played running back for him and just was a standout there, too. But at linebacker, just... I
mean, their points allowed was low, too. It's not like they were winning Big 12-style matchups where they were winning games 77 to 70. I mean, they were putting up those points on offense and not letting the other team score at all either, really squelching that defense or offense for the other team as well. And Gage was a huge part of that.
Yeah, definitely. How about our first backup on our squad is Darian Hilton from Brook. And again, with Brook, they're building that program a little bit, and you start with defense. And so, you start with Darian Hilton on your defensive side at linebacker, cleaning things up for you on the defensive side, Zach.
I feel like the name rings a bell to me. I feel like I almost remember watching him play in middle school and remembering that that's a dude then.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that when they played Brook, he plays for Brook.
Yeah.
When they played Park, when they played JM, you saw him making a lot of tackles and he did jump off the field. So really excited to get a Brook Bruin mentioned in these rankings here.
How about going back to Edison on the defensive side for Chase McClurg? And, you had on offense, you have your quarterback. Okay, now you need the quarterback of your defense. You need that guy. If you're going to go 10-0 in the regular season, you got to have a guy on your defense that's going to really dominate. And Chase McClurg did that for the Edison Wildcats. Played really fast to the ball. Was kind of the quarterback out there on defense for him.
And a lot of those linebackers, they're calling the plays in the huddle and getting everybody in the right position. So congratulations, Chase McClurg. Then we come to our People's Choice winner.
Our People's Choice, Max Fogel from St. Clairsville. So, and just because you're the People's Choice doesn't mean you weren't our choice. It's just we had so many great players to pick from. I think that's a testament to all the players on our list.
And he beat the next vote getter by almost 700 votes.
Yeah. So 2,006 votes. That's a lot of votes to get. And again, had a great season for that St. Clairsville defense.
Season,
I believe just a sophomore, so we'll get to see him a couple more years over there in St. Clairsville playing for the Red Devils. How about the back end of our defense? Again, we get to the back end of our defense, and kind of your defense now. It's speed, and oh my, okay. I wish they had like the 7 7x1 in track, and I'd like to see these guys run the 7x1. Do you think I could get that passed by the West Virginia SSAC or something? Or maybe the OVAC will do the 7x1, and I'll put these 7 guys on a 7x1 team, and they're going to run it in, I don't know, less than a minute or so. They're going to fly through
I would like to see the DBs and our wide receivers go head to head there, because all of those dudes can fly too.
A 7x1 competition sponsored by OVAthletics.com. I have batons at school. Let's get a hold of these kids. So let's start off with our first starter, Isaiah Zalaski from Wheeling Park. So, we have different levels of our defense. And that back end, it just seems like you could put him on an island back there. And man-to-man coverage, I don't want to say it's easy for these guys, but it's just you have him. But he could also play a little bit of zone coverage, too.
For Park's defense, Coach Phillips asked a lot of his defensive backs. And this man didn't just shoulder the burden. He excelled with that burden. And he played phenomenally well all season. So he definitely was a no-brainer pick for me. Just seeing Park play and the way that they sort of move around those DBs as well.
Yeah. How about next, our starters? Jaden Hammock from University. Again, I don't know. I could say the ball found him, but I don't think that's the case. I think he found the ball.
He did. He had a real nose for the ball this season.
It's almost like every time somebody threw the ball against University, it was like, is he going to pick off another one? And it was like, it wouldn't even be hit inside the field, and you're just thinking, he's going to get an interception somehow.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer. It's like, hey, let's throw it away from him. And then somehow he, amorphous blobs his way over to the other side of the field and is getting near the ball again. Just an outstanding player.
All over the place. How about next? When we talk about defense, we want to go to Steubenville.
Yep.
Ivan Buggs there at the defensive backfield. And as our research department found out, he's getting a lot of looks to go play football in college. So let's follow him a little bit, see where he's going to go. Congratulations to him, and good luck to him in the future.
Yeah.
How about going back to the Big Reds? Belair, Taryn Frazier. Wow. And as you research him a little bit, we noticed him on the offensive side of the ball, making some great plays on the offensive side. But then you look at him on the defensive side, and you're like, he may be even better on the defensive side, if that's possible.
Might be.
Some great catches this year on offense, but boy, on defense, you didn't hear his name a lot on defense, which for a defensive back, usually that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting beat on a play. Some interceptions this year and tackles, but putting him on an island and just saying you have that guy.
Well, especially with Belair too. We saw what their defense did later in the season. And we see how they went on that little bit deep of a run. So we've mentioned Belair quite a bit today, and you can see why they went on that run, just because they have a lot of people that sort of pop off the field to you when you see them. Yeah.
How about next, for going back to Steubenville for defense, Tyleek Sims at defensive back. Again, that back end of the defense is so important. You're guarding against 20, 25 passes a game, and a lot of these teams that play actions get you sucked up so much, but these guys were able to lock down.
He's one of those guys that if we went nickel with our defense, he'd probably be first one off the bench.
Yeah.
He just is an outstanding young man, and we could go 5-man front and just drop all defensive backs and still be fine, but we wouldn't want to with all of our linebackers there, too. But if we went nickel, this would definitely be the guy. He's almost a starter, is how close this one was.
Maybe for some more rule changes, we go like 21 on 21.
Yeah,
instead of 11 on 11, we'll go 21 versus 20. We'll widen that field a little bit. How about our other backup, Bobby Powell from Morgantown? Yeah. And again,
the second Mohican to get mentioned.
Yeah, just always seemed to find his way around the ball, whether it be in run support or in the pass game. Just always found his way around the ball. Again, a great player to watch play is Bobby Powell. Our people's choice from Belair, Taryn Frazier. So we picked him on our for our All Valley team as a starter. He also won the nomination for our People's Choice at 1,566 votes.
300 more than the next vote getter, which is really remarkable. And again, there were a lot of really good defensive backs that were nominated. I think this was a really hard field to narrow down, especially. Just with the strength of DBs in the Valley.
And again,
congratulations to Taryn Frazier for choice.
Probably could have made it at wide receiver too had you been able to do it both.
And then Jeff, we have a mea culpa. We have something that's my fault as we were going through this, because as I was scrolling up and down, I realized that we didn't mention one of our voters in our spreadsheet.
Oh.
And since we're going on special teams, I figured now is as good a time as any to bring up our All Valley long snapper. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer here to go with our starter and our People's Choice winner together here. Oh,
you're going. I'm going a little different.
Oh, you're going a little. Okay.
I want to go. I do. I want to go a little different. Okay. I said. I don't know. We're having a discussion right now. I want to go with Wyatt Bratton just because of what Eli Tucker for kicker was able to do for Central this year.
That's a good argument.
So Eli Tucker, great kicker, great punter, and it all starts with a snap. You can't start football without a center.
Right, that's true.
So you got to have a center. My pick would be with Wyatt Bratton.
Okay, well, let's roll with it.
From Wheeling Central.
So he would be our starter.
I think Wyatt Bratton's our starter, and then
our People's Choice winner would be Griffin Fogel with 1,800
votes. So as we started our special teams, now we got this. Wyatt or Griffin got the snap off real well.
There we go.
Now let's get it back to that holder and get it back to the kicker and starter. We're going Connor Fitzpatrick from John Marshall.
Yep.
Knowing how hard that he works at his craft and what he puts into it and the time he puts into it, going to some extra camps and doing those things to get noticed, and just the focus that he puts in it. Connor, great kid. But if when we looked down the list at our kickers, 20 years ago in the Valley, I don't know if we'd have been able to pick 3 or 4 or 5 kickers.
No, I don't think so.
Other than some offensive linemen when you put the clown shoe on and just boot it through with that flat toe.
Yep.
These kids are specialized, and these kids are going Division I football.
Well, and a lot of these kids are fantastic soccer players, too. I know Eli Tucker played soccer the whole way through middle school as well.
And heck, when Lorenzo Ferreira went down for Wheeling Central, Eli Tucker came in at running back.
Yeah.
So he came in at running back for Central. So, and I know Connor too, great athlete.
Yeah.
Basketball, soccer. So these kids aren't only kickers; they're good athletes.
Right.
So kind of, I mentioned him already, but how about our backup, Eli Tucker?
Eli Tucker.
Again,
and it's kind of like a 1A, 1B type scenario because you really couldn't go wrong with these two. It was literally the constraints of our picks were the only reasons we went starter backup here.
Almost a 1A and a 1A.
Yeah.
Like two 1A. We have like two 1A kickers.
Yep.
There. And Eli getting to see. I saw him play 3 or 4 times, and just again with the craft, putting the ball in the end zone on the kickoffs, something special. But of course, we have a third kicker.
We have our third kicker / punter. I don't know which he did. We kind of lumped them all together. Yeah. So if we get you wrong,
who could forget? Zach.
You know what? I'm proud of you.
And I hope is that how you do know him?
I don't know him.
And I hope that's
Aiden
Forget or Forget. But it looks like Forget. But it could
he
be Forget.
he has to be a kicker.
Who could Forget him? I guess.
He has to be a kicker because there's no way they were punting that much at Wheeling Park this season with those dogs they had on offense.
He was our leading vote getter for our kicker.
He was
punters.
one of the largest vote getters overall.
6,311 votes. So he's our People's Choice kicker punter.
He beat the rest of the field by like 5,800 votes.
Yeah.
He was huge in the vote getting. So must have a lot of friends. And a lot of people that really believe in him, and it must not have been for punting. It had to have been for kicking, because I don't believe that Park was punting that much.
Hey, check out ovathletics.com. If you voted, come back to the site. Look at some of our articles. New content. Every week, every day, we're having new content, adding stuff. Go to the message boards. If you didn't agree with our voting, go to the message board and say, hey, you forgot this kid. You forgot this kid. Hey, we'll listen to you.
Absolutely. And then we come to our coach, and the coach was actually kind of contentious between the three of us. We all went back and forth. We all kind of had our guy we were stumping for, and so we sort of, kind of settled here that we kind of went one head coach, 2 honorable mentions, and then we have our People's Choice winner as well.
How about just these guys as putting together as a staff?
Yeah.
If you got to put this coaching staff together and just said, hey, you're going to go coach this team and then give them our roster.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take it.
I think they would take it, absolutely.
So, I banged the drum a little bit for our head coach, and not saying, I was the final vote, but Mark Boner, and I think the thing that sold me the most on him for Coach of the Year this year was the way that Belair was able to come back through the season through adversity.
Right.
They had some team adversity this year, and to keep that team together, and then not only keep them together, but it seems like every week they got better. Every single week they got better. And have them watch them play a couple times, you could see it on the field too.
Right.
Not just on the scoreboard, just watching them play, they got better. And that's a testament to not only the head coach, but the assistant coaches too.
Absolutely. And just full disclosure, when we first did our nominations, we got a huge amount of nominations for assistant coaches as well. And we debated going back and forth on nominating voting on assistant coaches as well.
Yeah.
But the form kind of started swelling, and as we sort of said, we had 30,000+ votes. So if we would have had more data to comb through to look at our assistant coaches, we were afraid it was going to swell a little bit too much. So we just decided to end up with head coaches here. And I don't think you could go wrong with any of these 3 guys.
No. How about honorable mention? The first one's Blake Allen from Barnesville. putting together that undefeated season.
Yep.
A lot of talent out there, but just to watch them play, Zach, they were just coached really well.
Very well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then my guy that I stumped for was BJ Depew. I mean, to beat the teams that Lindsley beat this year, I pounded my fist for him. And then he also had Chris Kedash, his offensive coordinator, got a lot of nominations for assistant coaches when we talked about that too. But just to have the season that Lindsley had, it's hard not to mention them. Any team beats Steubenville, they got to be.
And you beat a really good Fort Fry team. Yeah. You beat Steubenville.
Beat some really, really, really good teams, and they had to be at least up for something there.
Yeah.
So that's why I sort of stumped for BJ Depew, even though I went to Lindsley, so I admitted I had a little bit of Kool-Aid there. But then we come to our People's Choice winner,
and that was Mark Boner, our head coach. Also was the People's Choice a winner as well. Coach Boner, 1,076 votes. It was a close race. Him, Blake Allen, BJ. Of course. How did Reno not make our list? Or is he just an automatic?
It's kind of like when you're talking about coaches in the NFL and you're just going to bring up Belichick regardless. Reno's that kind of name in the Valley.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that we're saying Reno's not a great coach. It's just that regardless of whether we recognize him or not, everyone knows that Reno's a great coach as well.
And I think just to add him, we've got to have some type of special category, maybe just the Reno category. I don't know. Just as coaches, it's like the next thing you're just
he would almost
the Reno
he would almost be if we did a Legends team. He would have to almost be the Legends coach just because of just what he's done for how long he's done it.
And maybe that's why we kind of overlooked. It's just. You expect everything. You expect undefeated state championships every year.
And when you think of all the coaches in the Valley that are great that we didn't really even have time to talk for, you got Coach Dock at Park, you've got Coach Young.
How about Coach McLean at St. Clairsville?
Absolutely, just tons and tons of great coaches that we had nominated. There was a huge spread of coaches. And when we first looked at the nomination forms, I was texting Jeff is this guy a head coach? Is this an assistant coach? Because we had so many nominations and so many people cared not just about these kids but about the men that help grow these kids into young men.
And isn't that great to have all those great coaches leading and be leaders for these young men to show them not only how to be football players but great young men.
We've all coached before too. So when we recognize our coaches here, that's a huge recognition for us, especially.
Yeah.
It's just because these guys are the class that are helping move these young men forward in their lives and sort of helping them with some discipline, helping them with gaining skills on and off the field as well.
Yes.
So congratulations to our All Valley team.
Yeah.
I'm sure we messed up some picks that you guys might disagree with, but it's the nature of doing lists like this is that there's going to be some unpopular decisions. There's going to be some decisions people didn't agree with. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on the forums. Let us know what you guys think.
How about an easy decision, Zach?
Oh, easy decision.
It's going on vacation.
Oh, there you go. An easy vacation.
How about if you want an easy vacation?
Could you go see for yourself?
I could see for myself because I don't want to go online and make I got to get a plane, then I got to get a hotel, then what am I going to do, then where am I going to, all this stuff. If you just go to see for yourself, you just say, I want to go here, or maybe just I want to go somewhere and this is what I want. I'll be back in 15 minutes, set it up for me.
There we go.
And they're going to do that for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so before you go, you don't want anything to happen to your home.
You don't want anything to happen to your home while you're gone, so who are you going to go see?
You're going to go see Lori Grizel at State Farm. You're going to get home insurance. You're going to get auto insurance, motorcycle insurance. How about banking needs? I don't know if people really know this. You can open up checking and savings accounts at State Farm. They have great rates on their savings accounts. I mean, great rates. So go see Lori Grizel in Bethlehem, and she'll get you some.
So Lori's going to help you with your home.
Okay.
See for yourself and help with your vacation.
Okay.
Maybe you want to represent your team from the Valley when you leave on some swim trunks or some apparel when you go on your vacation.
Where am I going to go get that?
Go see Swan Sports Shop for all of your needs for sporting apparel. And maybe you want to go rock a Barnesville swim trunks when you go on your vacation.
How about
that? Tom might do that when he goes on a cruise.
How about a last minute Christmas gift idea? You're like, what do I get Grandpap?
Yeah.
How about going to Swans, pick out a polo and say, hey, can I get this logo put on it? And they're going to embroider it for you, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to look great. It's going to be a nice personalized gift. And nobody's going to have, Brad's going to set you up with something that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it over there. I'm like, give me something that nobody else has, and he does a great job with that.
And listen, we were really excited to put together this team, and this team of sponsors really allowed us to put together this team and allows us to move forward and get to recognize these kids. Yep. And I mean, this was a lot of fun putting this together. I know we were texting all the time as the votes were flying in. Look for, in the next week or so, an article. I'm going to write one up on all of these kids, links to highlight videos, huddle accounts, all this sort of stuff, so you can see our winners and then actually see them play on the field as well.
That's great. One last thing, we'd like to thank High Value Nutrition one more time. Thank you. Where is it? Thank you. Jeff said, why don't you try the peanut butter cup chocolate? And I said, I'll try it. It's delicious. Like, it's very good. I'm running out of the cinnamon crunch. If you're looking at any Christmas gift ideas, get 20% off on anything at a High Value Nutrition. That deal's not going to last long. 20%, Zach. That's not going to last long. And it's just, the brownie milkshake, whatever you want, whether you need multivitamins, you're going to get 20% off anything over there. Go see them at a High Value Nutrition, St. Clairsville, Steubenville, or online.
And before we sign off, just want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year, all that sort of stuff that's coming up. Enjoy some precious time with your guys' families this upcoming weekend.
Definitely. Happy Holidays.
And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. You can find us on ovathletics.com. You can find us ovathletics.com on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all over the place. If there is a social media or a place to find content, you can find us there. Check us out.
Yeah.